On this edition of Danny Frank, I want to talk with two of the officers at one of the largest regional banks for the bold initiative that they have put forward, combined with their presence and engagement in the community. Gary Levante is Senior Vice President for Corporate Responsibility and Communications, and Lori Kiely is Senior Vice President, Regional President of Berkshire County for Berkshire Bank. And she is also the director of the Berkshire Bank Foundation. I appreciate both of you joining me for this edition of Danny Frank. And let's start with the fundamentals. I know that Berkshire Bank, for example, is only 176 years old. So how about if both of you take about 5 minutes or maybe even a little more to review that 176-year history, which, as I understand it, began in Pittsfield, Mass.
That's correct. And thank you, Danny. I think I'll start and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for both of us to be here. I'm excited to chat with you about Berkshire Bank and our history and our evolution, and especially in the Vermont region where we do have 5 branch locations. It's a really important region for us. And in addition to being regional president of Berkshire County, I'm also regional president of Vermont, and we have a really great team in the Vermont region. So excited to talk about that. But we did start, as you mentioned, 176 years ago in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. We were originally Berkshire County Savings Bank, and a lot of people still refer to us as Berkshire County Savings Bank. As they remember, we were once called a small savings bank in Berkshire County. A lot of people refer to us as the Popcorner because we have a popcorn wagon that we still have, which previously sat on the corner of North Street on Park Square, where the original building was, which I'm actually sitting in our original building. And we had the popcorn wagon outside and sold or gave away popcorn to people who came. So people remember us in that way. But our evolution has really gone throughout New England and New York. So now we're located in New England and New York primarily, and we have expanded over the years. And most of that expansion has come in the way of partnering with other financial institutions. So in Berkshire County, for instance, there were 2 Great Barrington Savings and Berkshire County Savings came together early on. Later on, legacy banks became part of Berkshire Bank. And in other regions, we acquired other banks and created kind of a larger footprint for Berkshire Bank. So now we are in New York and New England, throughout the state of Massachusetts, southern Vermont, the Capital District, central New York, Greater Hartford, Rhode Island, and actually even southeastern Connecticut now, and into New Haven. So that's kind of where our footprint is now. And we do, part of our expansion into Vermont was our partnership with Factory Point Bank, which I think a lot of people do recall and still may refer to us as the former Factory Point. So that's how we entered Vermont, and we now have 5 branches that we really feel are strong and are in a great locations in Arlington, Manchester, Rutland, and Ludlow. So we're excited about our direction. I don't know, Gary, if you want to elaborate at all on that history.
Well, yeah, it's one thing that you brought up in Factory Point, and that was when we first entered the Vermont market. But the other memory that I have, and this is early on when I first joined the bank, it was not too long after that partnership with Factory Point, and there was this within each of those branches they had popcorn machines. So if you walked into the branches, they smelled like popcorn. And to me, it felt just like I was coming home, just like if I was in a branch office in Berkshire County, with Berkshire County Savings Bank and Berkshire Bank and our popcorn wagon at the time. But that 175-year heritage that we have, we've always had a commitment to being a community-dedicated and purpose-driven institution that focuses on providing exceptional customer service by combining personal service with the convenience of technology, as well as just being a dedicated community partner. focusing on environmental, social, and governance matters. So Berkshire, has the Berkshire name, and I think of the Manchester community in southern Vermont, as the Berkshires of Vermont to some extent. And there are a lot of, I think, shared synergies, shared opportunities, and shared challenges within those markets. And Berkshire Bank is proud to have been that community partner, not just in the Berkshires, but in Vermont now for more than 2 decades.
Well, Gary and Lori, I would like an invitation to the 200th anniversary. So will you make a commitment to give me that invitation now? I'm sure that's going to be a tremendous celebration.
Absolutely, Danny.
Oh, yeah.
On the point about Factory Point, though, which is an old line historic bank, or was an old line historic bank in southern Vermont, which was acquired by Berkshire. There were concerns at the time about a historic financial institution going away, the area losing its identity, and grassroots local banking. And it becomes somewhat of a balancing act where the economics of banking services and the size of banking dictates what has to be done, but also to the need to retain the community focus, if we could just emphasize that.
Absolutely. And I'll just say that, a commitment to the community is top of mind and a key piece of our culture at Berkshire Bank, and it always has been. We established a volunteer program in 2008 that has grown over the years. It's employee driven and run, and it's really a key piece of our culture is giving back to the community. And our employees really enjoy participating in what we call the X team. It's our volunteer program, but really supporting the communities. We have a long history of doing so. We do, as we partner with other banks, want to keep the traditions of the other former bank alive in the community because it has a long history as well. And we really do try to do that. There's lots of times I oversee the foundation. We support, lots of different nonprofit organizations with foundation grants, and again, as well as volunteerism, financial education. And we often hear organizations refer to Factory Point and what Factory Point had done in the past. And I think, there's, some components with Factory Point's name still on it that shows, kind of the dedication of that institution. And we just have really worked hard to try to carry the traditions and the support that institution had provided to the community along through our history in Vermont, and we continue to do so.
Gary, any thoughts here? Or?
I mean, Lori said it great, and I think, Danny, you hit the nail on the head. Is anytime you hear about a bank partnering with another bank, there is that concern within the community of, is this institution really going to be just as committed as the hometown bank? And I think what Berkshire has always taken the time to do is anytime we're partnering with another institution, going into a community, is to take time to be present there, to listen to the folks that both work there, that live there, the nonprofit organizations, and really making sure we're getting a holistic picture of what's important to those stakeholders so that we can ensure that whether it's, how we reinvest in our community through our philanthropy and volunteer efforts under Lori's leadership, or it's, our core business activities, how we're harnessing our ability to lend to small businesses, to lend to help individuals realize the dream of home ownership, how we're using those core capabilities to support those Vermonters in southern Vermont. So it's something I think that we've really developed a skill set of, but it's also, something that continues even today with community listening sessions, with getting out into the markets to meet with local stakeholders and to listen to that feedback so we can ensure that we're always being responsive to the needs of those local communities, particularly as COVID and the pandemic, disrupted and impacted businesses, of all sizes, including Berkshire. And making sure that we were there to have our customers' backs on their worst days, but also help make the best ones possible. And that's something we're going to be continuing to do for the next, 175 years as well.
I want to talk about Berkshire and COVID in a minute or two. But before we do that, give us the impact, the footprint of Berkshire Bank in total. How many employees in the entire organization? How much infrastructure, real estate in terms of bank branches, properties, locations, the total market value of Berkshire Bank, value of all of the loans and investments, the size of the bank in terms of ranking?
Well, that's a lot of information, but I can start with just some basics. We have, as I mentioned, grown over the years, and then we've also consolidated a little bit into, just really the New York and New England footprint. So I think we currently have about $11.8 billion in assets. Gary can correct me if I'm wrong. According to the last calculation I had, but we have 106 branches, 170 ATMs, and my teller services. We have an ITM, we call it, which is really tellers that are located in one specific location, but it looks like an ATM, and you go to the machine and the person, it's a live person that's working with you, and you can do anything that you can do at a branch. So it's more than an ATM. But we have the full gamut of financial services, commercial banking, consumer lending, wealth management, and private banking and business banking. We are really, as Gary mentioned, trying to marry the personal touch and the personal banking experience with the technology that people are expecting and wanting today in terms of making things more efficient and effective. We have over 1,000 employees. I don't know, 1,200 or so, Gary. I'm not quite sure.
1,300.
1,300 employees. Located in all of those locations and in a variety of positions. We're really, like I said, working hard to ensure that we provide, kind of a program, a full financial services to people who, have a variety of different financial needs. One program that we're really proud of is called the My Banker program, which provides that single point of contact for customers. And it's not a situation where customers must have a certain amount of money in order to be eligible. Anyone is eligible for a My Banker, and they are the one point of contact. As I mentioned, they operate kind of 24/7. They answer questions. You can call them on their cell phone. They help you with anything that you might need, so they can be kind of your personal banker. And we're looking to add more My Bankers to our employee base as we continue on, because it's an important program. It's been very successful, and people really have come to appreciate it. Gary, I don't know if there's any others you have. I think you have numbers in your head, so maybe you've got some statistics you could also share.
Yeah, I happy to share a couple more. So market cap for Berkshire, about $1.5 billion market cap. Of that, 11.6 billion in total assets that Lori mentioned a couple minutes ago. About 10 billion approximately is deposits, and then there's about 6.8 billion approximately in loans. And the other piece I think that's really important to point out, especially within the context of COVID and Southern Vermont, is those 1,300 Berkshire bankers that we have. It's not just those employees that are working within the retail locations that folks interact with every day. It's our back office and operational support. It's our risk. It's our audit functions. And one of the successful things that we did within the pandemic is really transition to this hybrid work model. And what that means is now there are some of our employees, and these are, higher paying jobs that actually live in Vermont and moved to Vermont during the pandemic. So these aren't just retail banking employees or commercial banking employees. We have employees all throughout that New England and New York marketplace, from frontline staff to those working in operations. And, I think really that highlights the commitment that Berkshire has to all of its communities, but also to making sure that we're creating jobs, in each of our communities.
So fairly recently, Berkshire declared a $5 billion COVID community comeback program. I'd like to know how that was developed. What are the priorities, and how can viewers engage and access it if they have an enterprise or business?
Maybe I'll let Gary kick that one off and then I can follow up.
Yeah, Danny, I think it's a great question. I think this is something that I know I am particularly proud of, Lori is particularly proud of, but all of our employees are really proud of. So back this past September, Berkshire announced a $5 billion Best Community Comeback Plan to reinvest through our core business activities and through our financial activities, $5 billion over the next 3 years to power the financial potential of each of our communities, whether that be a community like Boston, Mass, or a community like Manchester, Vermont. That plan focuses on 4 key areas: fueling small businesses, community financing, philanthropy, financial access and empowerment, and environmental sustainability. And those 4 areas that we chose were very intentional. And the way that we developed this plan was very intentional and also organic. So this plan is really the result of hundreds of conversations over the last year as we battled the pandemic with nonprofit partners, with customers, with communities, with government officials and regulators. This plan really is all of those conversations melded into one comprehensive strategy. So we took a look and said, hey, no one is at their best all the time, but also no one stays down forever. And when we look at each of our communities right now, some communities that we operate in are thriving, while others, there have some opportunities and can use a helping hand. That's really what this plan is all about, is lifting up all of those communities. We also, in addition to engaging with all of our stakeholders to develop this plan, and all of our business line leaders to develop this plan, organically, we really also asked ourselves the question of our core business activities, where can we have the most meaningful impact? How can we most meaningfully impact places like Rutland, Vermont, places like Manchester, Vermont, places like Arlington, Vermont, places like Pittsfield, Massachusetts? How can we most effectively move the needle? And that's really what ultimately led to the strategy. So of that $5 billion, roughly $2.5 billion we've committed to lend in low, moderate income communities across our footprint. So it's $2.5 billion. We've also committed to lend $1.5 billion to support small business lending, and another $2 billion to support consumer lending, so that we are helping more individuals realize the dream of home ownership. Not only are we going to reinvest with those core business activities, we're going to augment that with all the great work that Lori does in our foundation to make sure we're providing the community support to help our nonprofit partners thrive and help our nonprofit partners support all of these important economic development and community elements within each, within each of our cities and towns. So the plan is very robust. It's also very ambitious. So for a company our size, we talked about 11.6 billion. We're talking about doing 5 billion in the next 3 years. That is a lot. That's about a 60 to 70% increase over what we have done in the past in the communities. So we're really proud of that, but we're also going to need to work alongside Danny, folks like you, folks like that are working on Main Street in Manchester and others. We're going to have to work with everyone to help make this plan and bring this plan to life for Vermonters in Southern Vermont. Lori?
Yeah, and I'll say that our foundation is aligned with the Best Community Comeback. So we've retooled our focus areas for our foundation to really support the goals of the plan. So we do have 3 very specific goals or 3 very specific focus areas for the foundation in 2022. And they're around, the first one's around small business, which, as Gary mentioned, is really important to the bank in supporting the needs of small business. We've heard from a lot of nonprofits that small businesses are still suffering, that there's still need out there. So our focus areas around supporting small business growth and entrepreneurship through access to capital, education, and technical assistance with an emphasis on greater access to minority, women, and LGBTQ plus owned businesses. So we know that, especially underrepresented businesses are struggling, and they definitely have need. Also, there's been a lot of people starting businesses through entrepreneurship, deciding, as we know, that people are kind of rethinking their lives, doing things that they want to do rather than things they have to do. So they have maybe a skill, but they don't have the business sense. So really supporting nonprofits that provide that support to those entrepreneurs. Additionally, we have a focus area around financial inclusion, which is another goal of the Best Community Comeback. And this one is around investing in programs that foster a pathway to upward economic mobility and overall well-being, with a focus on supporting the underbanked and unbanked. So that's a really broad category, but it could be, supporting individuals with post-secondary educational opportunities, job and skills training programs, early childhood education to provide, young children that kind of head start, as well as their parents an opportunity to work. So there's just a lot of different areas that could fall within that financial inclusion area, but just providing people that pathway toward upward economic mobility, whatever that might be for them. And also understanding that overall well-being is important as well, in addition to financial well-being. I mean, you can't be, financially healthy if you're not physically healthy or emotionally healthy. So a lot of that would tie into it as well. And housing is a third area that we have just found in every region that we serve has been a huge need. There's a lot of need around housing, whether it's affording homes for first-time home buyers, to affordable housing in general, just kind of subsidized housing, or providing families just kind of financial stability to even have housing at all. Really supporting that access to quality, affordable housing to help individuals and families gain that financial stability and achieve long-term wealth, because we know that owning a home is a pathway to generating wealth, and including providing a pathway for first-time home ownership, which we know has been a challenge for people, especially as home prices are skyrocketing and the inventory is low. And then really supporting people of color, women, and other marginalized groups around affordable housing. So those are our key priorities. Financial education is also a key priority of the foundation, and that is a goal of the Best Community Comeback. We're looking to impact 300,000 people through financial wellness programming, whether it's us delivering that programming, which we have, lots of different curriculum that we do provide in the community, or, supporting nonprofits that provide that financial education. But we know that, really financial wellness is crucial for everybody, regardless of your stage in life. We've also partnered with Green Path Financial Wellness, which is a great partner of ours, which provides our customers or consumers in general an opportunity to call and have a coach that will help them through a specific financial challenge. So whether you're looking to save for something or you're trying to improve your credit, they have different programs that really work one-on-one with people, because we know financials are really personal and everyone has unique needs. So we do have that offering, and we're happy, to provide that opportunity to anybody who might need it. So those are just some.
Lori, with the foundation, which you're the director of, and Berkshire seems to have a very proactive, defined foundation in comparison to a lot of other banks and financial institutions. If I'm correct, there's over 500 community organizations which have received some form of sponsorship or support from Berkshire, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that number is pretty accurate. We do support hundreds of organizations each year. We do from two different sides, as you mentioned, the foundation side, which provides foundation grants to support programs and really just improve a need in the community. And then there's the sponsorship side from the bank that also supports important events in the community that do raise funds for various causes. But yes, we have a wide gamut of organizations that we support, and really happy to be able to support all of them and the needs that they're addressing in the community.
Lori, you must have one particular special story about a cause or a circumstance where you were involved, where Berkshire Bank was able to make a difference and it was gratifying for you.
I think we do have lots of those stories. We have, various stories around small businesses where we can really support businesses that are, E4L is a good example. That's an organization that's in several of our regions, Entrepreneurship for All. They provide, individuals with an opportunity to really start a business. If someone has an idea and they that's all they have is an idea and maybe a skill, they help them get to that next level. But we've had mentors that have worked with E4All. We've had, and then we've been able to, provide support financially in some cases for some of the businesses that have gone through that program. And then we see, businesses that might go through the E4L program and then to graduate to another program that will help them expand even further. So we have lots of different stories out there of various customers that we've supported. We also have a program that we're launching called the Futures Fund, which is a line of credit program for small businesses that are already in business, targeted at underrepresented businesses. So those that are minority owned, women owned, LGBTQ plus IA owned businesses that really just need that extra capital to help them, kind of get to that next level or continue to be prosperous. So it's a line of credit. We're going to be launching it in the next couple of months. It's previously was available in the Massachusetts side of our footprint, but we're expanding it to all regions. And that's going to help businesses that have a need up to $50,000 of a line of credit to really gain some capital, which is we're being told is absolutely a need in all of our markets.
In our remaining minute, as we close out, we're living in an extraordinary historic period where there are so many jobs open and career opportunities. And I believe there are many job opportunities awaiting at Berkshire Bank. And these are good career opportunities. Gary?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And not only do we have those openings, and I think like everyone does, we're really committed to being a purpose-driven organization. So in addition to, the normal benefits that, every employer offers, like paid time off and full health benefits, we also offer a number of benefits that we actually think kind of go above and beyond. So we have an employee assistance program to help employees that are dealing with different hardships, an employee assistance fund to help employees that have unexpected financial expenses that come up. We also provide, Lori talked about the volunteer program, paid time off to volunteer, in our communities in places like Southern Vermont. So we have all of these other kind of benefits that kind of help set us apart as a community bank and truly being a community partner. And Danny, there's something else you mentioned earlier that I just want to go back to because I think it's really important. And it's, how can Vermonters, how can I, sitting in my living room, watching this show in Arlington, Vermont, how can I help support the best community comeback? How can I help support my community? And what I would say to that is if you have a small business, we want to hear about it. If you're building a new building and it's going to be environmentally friendly, we want to help you get there. We're really looking at all of those opportunities to harness our capital to help places, rural communities across our footprint. And I think there are a lot of chances for us to do some incredibly great work, working alongside partners in Vermont. And of course, none of that can happen if we don't have the employees and folks from Vermont working for us.
Lori Kiely and Gary Levante, both senior vice presidents at Berkshire Bank, headquartered in Boston. We are out of time, and thank you very much for being with us. This is Danny Frank for GNAT-TV.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Danny.